Okay, so have you ever stepped outside on a beautiful summer day and thought, oh yeah, I better slather on the sunscreen or I'll be burnt to a crisp in like 5 minutes?
I've definitely been there.
It makes you wonder, right? Why are humans so uniquely sensitive to the sun compared to all the other animals out there?
It's a question that has puzzled scientists for ages, and it's fueled some pretty out there theories.
What if we're not from around here?
Well, in a way, that's what we're diving into today, the idea of panspermia.
Panspermia.
Yeah, it's the idea that life on Earth might have actually originated somewhere else in the cosmos and then journeyed here.
So we're talking about life hitching a ride on a comet or a meteorite and crash landing here billions of years ago.
Exactly. Picture it life, or at least its building blocks, hitching a ride across the galaxy on these celestial wanderers.
Wow, that's wild. Okay, so where do we even begin to unpack this whole panspermia thing?
Well, we'll be looking at some really interesting research from Forbes and even NASA that lends some credibility to this idea.
NASA's looking into this.
Yeah, some of their scientists are definitely exploring these possibilities. But first, let's talk about a guy named Dr. Ellis Silver. He's an American ecologist who's made some pretty bold claims in his book, Humans Are Not From Earth.
I've heard of that book. He's the one who says humans just weren't built for this planet, right?
That's the one. He points to things like how susceptible we are to sunburn or bad backs, even the difficulties of human childbirth compared to other mammals.
Okay, those are definitely things I've complained about before.
He argues that these aren't just quirks. These are signs.
Mm.
These are pieces of evidence that we actually evolved in a totally different environment.
So on another planet.
Exactly.
Huh.
He even goes a step further and talks about the discovery of 223 extra genes in the human genome.
Extra genes, like bonus features.
Kind of. These genes haven't been found in other species on Earth, and he argues that this could be evidence of a completely different evolutionary path, one that potentially began on another planet.
223 extra genes. That's
Yeah.
wild. What do those genes even do?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Unfortunately, we don't have a definitive answer yet. And it's important to remember that while Dr. Silver's claims are definitely interesting, they're considered pretty speculative by the scientific community.
Okay, so we're not quite booking our tickets to Planet X just yet.
Not so fast. While some of his observations are really interesting, we have to be careful about distinguishing between speculation and actual scientific evidence. A scientific hypothesis needs rigorous testing and verification.
Makes sense. So is there any of that kind of evidence for panspermia, or is it mostly just intriguing speculation at this point?
Well, that's what we're going to be digging into. While Dr. Silver's claims might be on the fringe, the broader concept of life originating elsewhere and then somehow making its way to Earth has actually been gaining some traction in the scientific community lately.
Really? You're saying there's actual scientific evidence that supports panspermia? Tell me more. Really? You're saying there's actual scientific evidence that supports panspermia? Tell me more.
There is. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence comes from meteorites.
Meteorites, those things that crash into Earth from space.
They're the very same. And when scientists have analyzed these meteorites, they found something really interesting inside them.
Okay, what kind of things are we talking about?
They found complex organic molecules, like amino acids, the building blocks of proteins.
Hold on. So the raw ingredients for life are just out there floating around in space, and sometimes they land on Earth.
That's the idea. It's like the universe is delivering takeout orders of life, and sometimes Earth gets lucky.
Okay, I like where this is going. So instead of life just magically appearing on Earth, we're talking about it potentially being brought here from somewhere else.
Exactly. And that opens up a whole new can of worms.
Yeah.
Because if the ingredients for life are common out there in the cosmos, well, how likely is it that life arose somewhere else too? And if it did arise elsewhere, could it have hitched a ride to Earth?
That's mind-blowing. So we're not just talking about the possibility of life originating elsewhere, but also about the potential for it to spread from one planet to another. The cosmic game of catch?
Now you're getting it. Some researchers even believe that life from Earth could have been launched into space by impacts and then gone on to seed other planets.
Whoa, hold up. So you're saying that there could be little pieces of Earth, like microbes or something, out there on other planets right now because they got flung off by an asteroid impact?
It's a possibility that some scientists are seriously considering. Talk about a wild way to spread life throughout the universe.
That is wild. Okay, so we've talked about the possibility of life coming from somewhere else and even bouncing around between planets. But what if there was intelligent life on Earth before humans?
You're talking about the Silurian
The
hypothesis.
Silurian hypothesis. What's that?
It's the idea that maybe, just maybe, There was a technologically advanced species that existed on Earth millions of years before humans ever came on the scene.
Okay, now that's a mind bender. So you're saying there could have been another civilization here, and we just haven't found any evidence of it yet.
Well, think about it. Millions of years is a really, really long time.
Yeah, that's true. But wouldn't we have found something by now, like some ruins or tools or something?
It's definitely possible. But the Earth is constantly changing. Erosion, plate tectonics, volcanoes. All these forces can bury or obliterate evidence over millions of years.
So it's like trying to find I don't know, a tiny fossil in a giant pile of dirt.
Exactly. Deep time has a way of erasing even the most impressive feats of engineering. Think about it. Would our own civilization structures survive for millions of years? Would our cities still be standing? Our bridges? Our highways?
Probably not. Everything would eventually crumble or get buried.
Exactly. And that's the challenge with the Silurian hypothesis. Even if there was a technologically advanced civilization here, before us finding definitive proof of their existence is a monumental task.
Though how would we even go about looking for evidence of something like that if it's so hard to find?
That's where things get really interesting. Because some scientists believe that instead of looking for obvious artifacts, we should be searching for something called technosignatures.
Technosignatures?
Yeah.
What in the world are technosignatures?
Well, it sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. It just means any kind of evidence of past technological activity that we could detect, but that might not be as obvious as a tool or a structure. Like imagine finding a layer of rock with a weird spike in certain isotopes. That could be a sign of ancient nuclear fission. Or maybe we find synthetic molecules that don't exist in nature. That could be a hint at advanced manufacturing processes.
Okay, so we're talking about finding clues that point to technology being used rather than the actual technology itself, like a chemical fingerprint instead of a fossilized smartphone.
You got it.
So we're talking about finding clues that point to technology being used rather than the actual technology itself, like a
Right.
chemical fingerprint instead of a fossilized smartphone.
Exactly. And those clues, those technosignatures, have to be really durable. Like imagine trying to find traces of our civilization millions of years from now.
Would there be anything left?
That's the question, right? What would survive the relentless march of geologic time? Would our skyscrapers still be standing? Would our plastic persist?
I mean, I know plastic takes forever to break down, but millions of years.
It really makes you think, right? What would a future archaeologist, or maybe an alien visitor, conclude about us based on the remnants of our civilization?
I mean, they think we were obsessed with plastic, which I mean isn't totally inaccurate.
Right. Or maybe they'd find layers upon layers of concrete and asphalt and think, wow, these humans really love their roads.
And their parking lots, don't forget about those.
Oh, right, of course.
Ex-
Parking lots, the true sign of an advanced civilization.
Exactly. But okay, back to technosignatures. So we're looking for these incredibly subtle, durable traces of technology. Where do we even begin to search for something like that?
Well, some scientists believe we need to think bigger than just Earth. They say we should be looking for technosignatures on other celestial bodies, too, like the moon, Mars, even asteroids.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
We're going full-on space archaeologists now.
think about it. The moon and Mars, they haven't experienced the same level of geological activity as Earth. No plate tectonics, no oceans of water eroding everything away. So any evidence of a past civilization that might have existed on those bodies would be much better preserved.
So you're saying if someone built something on the moon a million years ago, there's a decent chance it's still there, just waiting to be found.
It's a possibility. And that's a really exciting thought.
Mm.
Imagine finding like a piece of an ancient alien spaceship buried in a crater on Mars.
Okay, now that would be the discovery of the century. Talk about rewriting history books. We'd need a whole new library just to contain all the new information.
Exactly. It would completely change our understanding of our place in the universe.
Mhm.
To know that we're not the only ones who've ever been here, or even the first ones to develop advanced technology.
It's mind-blowing to think about. So much of what we've talked about today is still theoretical, but the fact that we're even asking these questions, that we're considering these possibilities, it's just incredible to me.
I agree. And who knows? Maybe someday soon we'll find that one piece of evidence, that irrefutable proof that confirms everything we've been speculating about.
Until then, we keep searching, we keep asking questions, and we keep exploring all the amazing possibilities that the universe has to offer. That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure exploring these big questions with you. Catch you next time.